Hey everybody, this is Craig. To help you with your Module 2 critical thinking exercise, I would like to do a problem for you, show you how it's done, and hopefully that'll give you a good idea how to do your work. I've done we're going to do problem number 17 from section 4.3, the exercises section. That's the part that's within the chapter, not in the back of the chapter. In all of these problems, you deal with a person or a group's influence or dominance over another person or group of people. In this problem, we were given a table of members and their influence on others. And I've repeated that information here, but to save some writing, I simply use the first letter of their name rather than their entire name. So we have member L, who has influence on, poor member L, has influence on no one. F has influence on C and M, J on L and C, so on and so forth. What we're going to eventually do is we're going to rank their influence to find out who has the most influence amongst this group. And we're going to look at what's called both first stage and second stage dominance. More on that in a minute. What we first need to do is draw a diagram. And the diagrams in the book are awfully fancy, and I don't know how, without a lot of trial and error, they came up with those. But here's how I do it. First of all, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members. So what I do is put 5 dots in a circle, and I'll do that now. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I label them with the 5 people. So we have L, F, J, C, and M. And now, using this little table that we were given, I draw arrows that indicate the influence. Now I'll start with L, and poor member L doesn't have influence on anyone, so he doesn't get any lines. Let's move on to F. F has influence on both C and M. So what I do is draw lines with an arrow indicating influence. So I'm going to draw from F to C, a little arrowhead on it so I know which way the influence goes, and from F to M. Okay, then I go on to the next person, and let's see, J has influence on L, and J also has influence on C, next door. I'll continue this until I've drawn all these. Next, we need to create what I'll call a truth table, a table of influence where we analyze the drawing we just made. And this is shown down below. Again, I've put the first letter of the people's names along both axes, and I have a total column on the far right. So, first of all, the influence of L on L is 0 and F on F is 0. So we can kind of do this. That's kind of the free space. But in each of these other boxes, we need to determine what the first and second stage dominance of one person is on another. Well, there's my phone ringing. We'll ignore that. Okay, so first of all, the influence of L on F. What we do is we start with the letter L, and we look for all the influence arrows extending away from L. Now you can see there's no influence arrows extending away from L, and that's because L had no influence on anyway. So the influence of L on F, on J, on C, and on M is 0. The total influence that L has is none. Well, we knew that up front. Let's go to one that's more interesting. The influence of F on L. So we start with letter F, and he has 2 influence arrows extending away from him. We have to follow both of those and see whether we identify first and or second stage dominance. First of all, we're looking for F on L. So the 2 arrows, since there is not an arrow from F directly to L, there is no first stage dominance. However, we still have to follow these 2 arrows because if they extend first to someone else and then to L, that's how we define second stage dominance. Two links. 1, 2. Yes, there's a direct path to L. F has second stage dominance on L. We also have to check the other path. Let's see. F goes from down to C, and then that can also go back to L. So yes, there were 2 second stage dominants. We add those 2 together. 1 and 1 gets 2. How about F to J? Well, let's see. We follow those same paths. F goes to M, and then over to J. Yep, there's 1. How about this one? F goes to C. No, it does not go back to J. We only get 1 in that spot. F to C. Let's see. F to C, there's a direct. That's 1. Is there an indirect? F to M. Nope. M doesn't come back to C, so there's only 1 there as well. And finally, F to M. There's a direct dominance link. Is there an indirect? No, there's not. So we get 1 there. Total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll do one more. Let's do J to L. J to L, let's see. There is a direct link. That's 1. And again, I'm only examining the arrows that extend from J. J to L. Okay. J to L, there's 1 direct link. Is there an indirect? Let's see. I got to follow the other J path. And yes, it goes to L. So J to L, we do have 2. J to F. Let's see. Again, 2 paths to follow. See if we can end up at F. J to C? No. J to L? Nope. Nothing there. Okay, how about J to C? J to C, there's a direct path. That's 1. Is there another way back to C? 1. Nope, there's no other way back to C. We get a 1 in that column, in that cell. And finally, J to M. Let's see, J to M. Is there a path to M? No. Is there a path to M this way? No. We get 0 there. And his total is 1, 2, 3. I've completed my truth table now, and I finally have the answers. I can see who has the most influence, and it's person F. And so I'm just going to create a little rank of influence table here. And I'm going to say F is at the top with a score of 5. M with a score of 4. J with a score of 3. C with a score of 1. And poor little L, no influence at all. What does that tell you? F has the most influence among this group of people. Can you see it just by looking at our original table that F had more influence than anyone else? No, it's not really evident unless you kind of, well, that's tricky. But our directed graph showed us that. I hope that helps, folks. Write with any questions.